So what we'll do, okay, so welcome. What I think we'll do, Rose and Kate, if that's okay, is just introduce ourselves. So I'll go first. My name's Deanne Reyes, and I'm the Student Wellbeing Officer, Student Liaison. I help a lot with students' study journey. And the way that we do it in a holistic way is that I kind of know everybody, the same as the faculty. We're a very small school, so we're very much involved in the individual's process, which you'll know more about as we start talking through this information talk. I also run the Holistic Counselling Skills, the bridging course, and the 6-month program. So that's from me. I've been working at Metavision for 13 years now, and I studied here and I never left because I really have a passion and a belief in what Metavision bring in the world in relation to facilitating students' growth on the inside and the academic as well, and really churning out amazing therapists. So that's why I've been here for so long, and I plan on being here for a lot longer. And I will pass it over to Kate. So, Kate, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name's Kate. I'm the administration manager at Metavision. So I deal with all the inquiries, I deal with your enrollments, I deal with payments, I deal with reporting, I deal with a lot of aspects of it. So some of you actually have spoken to me already or come back and forth on email. So I'm your main point of contact up until the course starts, and then I hand you over to the beautiful academic team. But I'm always here. So if you ever need anything, I am definitely the person to reach out to. I've been here for 2 years now, a little over 2 years, and it is a very beautiful place to work. So I'm very, very blessed that I get to be part of this lovely team. So I'll pass over to Rose, introduce herself.
Hey, my name's Rose. I'm the Deputy Dean at Metavision, and like Dee, I'm a graduate as well. I started at Metavision as a student 7 years ago, and basically, like Dee, never left. And yeah, I'm also really passionate about our model. We get to know our students really well. And so, yeah, looking forward to getting to know you a little bit today and sharing a bit more about what we do and what makes our courses unique.
Thanks, Rose. I'll hand it over to you. Um,
Do a little beginning.
yeah, so what the flavor of today is information that we're going to give you, but we're going to try and present it in the style that we would as, say, we do a tutorial. So you get a bit of a Metavision flavor in a way. And if people want to ask questions or anything, we really encourage that too, because discussion is such an important part in collaboration. There is a wisdom that you bring as much as what our faculty bring. So we really honour that and respect that in the individual. So yes, Rose, go ahead. Thank you.
Steve, so I have here a candle, which I'm going to light because at the start of our intensives each day and also at the start of our tutorials, we often light a candle because creating a sense of ritual and sacredness is really important to the way we work. So I'll just light that. You'll be able to see it's almost to the end because of how much I use it. Go through a lot of candles. I'm just going to share a quote from Rilke, which we also often open our intensives and tutorials with an inner work or a poem or verse for reflection. And this one's extra special because it's actually, we had this on our website for a long time, and I know it's brought a lot of students to Metavision, including me. Have patience with everything unresolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers, which could not be given to you now because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday far in the future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answer. And I think why that quote is so special is because a lot of students who come to Metavision say that they felt that they were called here or that they followed a sense of longing or yearning for something more, and perhaps don't have a full sense of what that is. And I really think the 2 years allows you to really live into some of those questions at a very personal level as well as academically. So we always talk about layers. So on one level, you're coming to study a master's in counseling and psychotherapy. You might be considering a career change or wanting to add to your qualifications. And then on another level, people often feel this calling or this yearning for something more. And there's a lot of deep personal work that happens throughout the course. And so, yeah, it's interesting to consider and reflect on, do you feel that? Do you feel that sense of calling towards something more? And how is that showing up for you perhaps at the moment? And I think we're going to share a few slides, is that right, Dee, with some information about the course, but you can jump in at any time with questions.
Yes, yes. So we will share the slides. And like Rose said, we'll have something at the end as well that will do a little tiny bit of inner work, but there is some sort of homework to take as well. But let me share the screen. Okay. So this is So the Metavision Institute was established in 2004 by our founder, Christina Nielsen. And I'll talk about her later when we talk about the Metavision model. It's been PACFA accredited since 2011, but before that, it was actually accredited with the ACA. It's HE accredited, so higher education. And the way that we got to higher education was because we wanted to bring this model into the world that was quite different from any other model, and to be able to legitimize, I guess, our graduates in the space of being able to get work. And yeah, so it's helpful to have that accreditation in the world today. And we work with the holistic approach, which we'll be talking about more. We do in-person intensives, but I think at the moment you can also do you can do the online version as well. Can you speak about that, Rose?
Yeah, at the moment, if you're not seeking the PACFA accreditation, which requires a certain amount of hours face-to-face in person, you can get the master's fully online. So that would be more suitable for someone who's already registered with PACFA or ACA and doesn't intend to seek that accreditation through our course.
Thank you. So yes, so as we've said from the beginning, there is a high focus on inner work and self-knowledge. And so there is an emotional component to the course. You will be going on a journey on an inner level as much as an academic level. So you'll be provided the tools, but that's what we're talking about when we call it holistic. There is a transformative part of the course, which there might be something that's triggering, like when you do the trauma module or other times. But I think Rose and I were talking about it before, and there's not one student that we know that has done the course without needing some sort of support. So in saying that, every year you'll have to do 10 years, that's a lot, 10 hours of personal counseling for yourself to ensure that you're held and you're able to go through your own stuff as much as what you're going to, because you're going to be sitting with others. So it's very important to be able to know what's going on for yourself and maybe heal a bit. I mean, we're all working towards that as we live and grow anyway. So yeah, that's a big part of the course.
Sort of, Dee, I'm thinking, we talk about the wounded healer.
Yes.
And also having that experience as a client is really important because then you know what your clients are going through and how vulnerable it can be sometimes being in that client position.
Absolutely. Yes, most definitely. And first and foremost, we're human, so we're coming in to be therapists and counselors, but we were all coming with something. So I just want to say that. So talking about the Metavision model, you can't talk about the Metavision model without speaking about our founder, Christina Nielsen. So Christina has a background in, so first of all, I think was it Chinese medicine first or social work, Rose?
I think social work first.
Yeah, so she became a social worker and then she worked for Relationships Australia. And then I think she went in and did some Chinese medicine and became a doctor of Chinese medicine. So it's a big passion of hers. And then she was also a Steiner teacher. So there's a background in Steiner as well, so learning about that, and became a process work diplomat. So Arnold Mindell's teaching, which is quite big in the course as well. So all of these components is what makes up the Metavision model. Christina was teaching at university a counselling module, and the students asked her, like, what we want to do is we want to learn what you know, because she was bringing it in a different way, I think, like more of a holistic way from everything that she'd learned. So they pretty much, the students asked for the school, and she was sort of like, well, I don't know. I do not really want to be the teacher or do this, but it was a calling for her to come and open this at the Metavision Institute. So we have much respect for that. And if you talk about the Metavision model, having a knowledge about the background of, say, Steiner or process work is a big component, but also anthroposophy, which is the spiritual sciences. It talks about holistic is the mind, body, and soul and spirit working together, but it's also being in the community and it's also being in the world. You know, so there's all these little components, the macro and the micro, which are really important. And I'm just wondering, Rose, did you want to share something as well?
Yeah, I think it's important to say too that we look at how everything's interconnected. And so our problems are not just our own, they're often also related to our family of origin, our culture, the world. And so to be able to hold that when we're working with someone and to realize, I think a really key important aspect of the Metavision model is it's non-pathologizing. And it's really being able to be with whatever is arising for a person in the moment without, yeah, pathologizing or assuming that the problem is with the person and not part of the system or the culture that they're in as well.
Yeah. So also, yeah, so the individual is quite important, your process as an individual. We have deep democracy, which means that we really respect the person's diversity and individual process as it comes up. So we deal with our students in that way. If there's issues or if there's something happening, we actually, even though it's a student faculty discussion, it could be a student and I could be talking to them. We try to model that when we're looking after our students. So I'd love to know if there are any questions or comments or anything.
I think, is that Isla? Did you just put your, Ayla, did you put your hand up? Feel free to jump in, anyone, if you have questions.
That's fine. I understand it's difficult until we introduce ourselves, I guess. But yes, we can continue. So we were discussing holistic, and this one slide speaks to it. Welcome, Matt. So why
Thank you.
holistic?
Sorry, I'm late.
That's okay. Thanks for coming. Why holistic integrates mind, body, and spirit, focuses on the whole person. So I think that we said this is just summarizing, emphasizes self-awareness, promotes personal growth, is client-centered. We very much think that the client's process has meaning to them and they have a wisdom for themselves as well. It's a collaborative process and it focuses on long-term well-being. So Christina will talk about the awareness continuum, which is mind, spirit, psyche, and body. And it's just saying that consciousness exists on a spectrum and it's not static. So it can go into awareness. It can also go out of awareness. But we might be aware of something, but there's something else going on underneath. So that is the awareness continuum that we work with. So the Metavision educators, so we were talking about how we treat students as whole individuals. So it's the mental, emotional, and physical growth. And so all of our educators are skilled professionals with real world experience. And most of them are graduates. I think all of them are graduates, Rose? Yes, all of them. But bringing practical things into the classroom. So a lot of the work is experiential. Would you like to say more about that, Rose?
Yeah, so when we say experiential, there's a lot of demonstrations, work in dyads and triads where you're getting to practice together. A lot of inner work and a lot of reflective work, as well as theoretical work. So at the intensives, especially, we really emphasize that experiential learning. So, for example, you might watch a demonstration of a particular skill or way of working, and then you would be able to go off and practice that with a partner. And then we come back and discuss and have questions. So it's not just sitting there listening to a lecture. Our tutorials as well follow a similar format.
I think we do this so that because we do acknowledge the wisdom with our students as well, and with what is arising in them through the learning too. So I think that's an important aspect.
Yeah, a really important part of the course is the connections you make with other students. We recommend that everybody has at least one study buddy that they're meeting with regularly. And you'll find a lot of the learning comes through those relationships too, because everybody comes with such diverse backgrounds and their own wisdom. And so when we all come together in those kind of discussions and intensives, there's a lot of learning that happens through conversations with study buddies, not just through the lecturers.
So you get that peer support as well as you're studying. So graduates, so these are the statistics. 74% working as a holistic counsellor. 26, we did a survey, so this is where we got these statistics from the graduates. So 26% see over 10 clients a week. 64% live and work outside the major metropolitan cities. There's quite a lot of work in regional areas for counsellors. 70% find skills learnt help in all areas of their life. Like we were talking about that as well. You get to really know yourself through therapy, but also through the learning. 90% found the experiential learning environment very important. So these are just the statistics. And I guess from experience with talking to graduates myself, a lot of people go into private work as a therapist, but they might supplement it by working at an organisation as well, or they just go into complete private work. So you can always do both. And it's really interesting to see what students actually come in and what want to do and what they come out. Sometimes they think they want to do something specific and come out and do something completely different. Yeah.
And the private work, sometimes that's one-to-one clients and sometimes it's groups.
Yeah.
And some people do both.
So the accredited courses that we have, and when we talk about accredited courses, we're talking about higher education. and we're talking about PAC for accredited. Sorry. Um, so there's a lot of discussion around what PACFA is, and that's our accrediting body for counsellors and psychotherapists. So all these courses are accredited. Oh no, sorry, I'm wrong. Let me just scrap that. So the Masters in Counselling and Psychotherapy is PACFA accredited. The graduate diploma, because it's 1 year, is not PACFA accredited. So that sort of makes sense. I didn't look at this slide before, so I apologise for any confusion around that. But our Masters is a 2-year program, unless you're doing it part-time, which is 4 years. But it's definitely PACFA accredited, which is our accrediting body that you could. Does anyone have any questions about what PACFA is, or do you know, or did you want me to say more? No? I'll continue because we can get questions at the end as well. Okay, the short courses are Holistic Counselling Skills 1, which is a bridging course, and that's a 7-week program, and that's done online. In that course, there's a 2-day workshop, but there's also tutorials every Monday between 12 and 1. But what it is, it's more about embodying skills like active and deep listening and micro skills of counselling, where we talk about congruence. We go along the lines of Carl Rogers' person-centered counselling, and he talks about unconditional positive regard and empathy and things like that. So the way that works is that you come in and you do the coursework online, but you go about in your week to use the skills so that you could actually embody them instead of just having them up here. You're using them, then coming back and talking about how you use those skills. And there's one assignment at the end, which is you going to a counsellor as the client and then talking about how they use the micro skills or they didn't use the micro skills. And it's a reflective essay. So that's that first bridging course. And then the Holistic Counselling Skills 2 is a 6-month program. So that follows on from that 7 weeks and goes on for 6 months. And then we have Rob Engels, who's a graduate of Metavision, and he works with somatic eco-psychotherapy. And he actually embodies wild reverence. He's all about nature, but he brings our somatic eco-psychotherapy course to Metavision in the Metavision flavor. So you've got an online-only graduate diploma, but that's only if you don't want to become accredited with PACFA. Well, do you want to say more about that, Rose? I think you've got more information.
Yeah, so that might be for someone who's already in practice, already working in the field, and just wants to add some of that holistic, process-oriented, who wants to add that to their practice. You can also then go into the masters. And if you attend, I think, all the intensives in the masters in person, you then are eligible for PACFA. So the online only is a good way of sort of seeing if Metavision is a good fit for you without having to come to all the intensives. Or for someone, like I said, who's already in practice, already registered with PACFA or ACA, and just wants to add to their toolkit.
Thanks, Rose. We went backwards. You want to go forwards? So accreditation. Okay, so when we talk about TEXA, we're talking about the higher education regulating body. So this just means that we have our accreditation with TEXA, that most universities, private colleges will have when you get a master's or a graduate diploma. So they're all accredited with TEXA. So when we talk about the admission criteria, what we really do recommend is that based on your individual circumstances, you might want to have a conversation because nothing's really black and white. But if you do have a qualification from a university, um, AQF level 8 or higher, so that's the Australian Qualifications Framework, uh, that has included counselling skills or training in that sort of field, then you would be eligible to go straight into the Masters of Counselling, of Holistic Counselling and Psychotherapy. And you attend the interview. So that's one way of getting in. So I'm just reading through this slide now. So the graduate diploma, okay, so what I'm just going to say is that if you don't have any counselling skills or anything, have studied anything in counselling, you'd have to do the bridging course. So graduate diploma you could get in if you had, and that's the 1 year program or the 2 years part-time. So you would have to have a qualification from a university or registered higher education at an AQF level 7 or higher level, or relevant experience with the completion of a bridging course, or relevant experience as an employee or volunteer in the same field for at least 12 months, but do not have a undergraduate degree and completion of a bridging course, including foundations of academic writing, basically, and you have to attend an interview to ensure your foundational knowledge. So basically what we want to do is make sure that who we bring through is of the standard that we need, but also we want to set you up for success. So making sure that you have those academic writing skills and you also have a basis knowledge of counselling. So that could be the micro skills and things like that. So yeah, but I do recommend that you come and talk to us about it. Did you want to talk about the specialist training, Rose?
No, I think that will be, let's skip that one because I don't know how much we need to go into that today.
So intensives, what do we mean by intensives? They're what you come and do the work for like 4 days and 2.5 day intensives in a year. And they're held in Brisbane in Queensland. Currently we're holding them in the Eco Centre in Griffith University. It's a beautiful place. So it's a very nice, the Eco Centre has lots of sounds like it does, but it's in like a forest with trees and some beautiful surroundings. So it's mandatory if you want PAC for membership to attend these at least 40 hours. And it's a great way to build the community and also we're doing a lot of experiential work. So you'll be in the classroom working, you'll go outside and work. There's all sorts of things that we do there. So yeah, that's what the intensives are. And they call them intense for a reason. They're quite intense. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of work.
I think too to say, Dee, we follow a cohort model, so you'll be mostly with the same group the whole way through the course, depending on whether you're part or full time. And so again, those study buddy relationships and the relationships you have with your peers become really, really important because there's a lot of trust that gets built up as you're working together through those intensives. And then also the people that you study with become your colleagues. So we often have students who then go on to do work together once they graduate, whether that's facilitating groups together or having a shared practice or doing peer supervision. Yeah, so building those connections is really important. There's a lot of magic that happens at the intensives too.
Thanks, Rose. Hey, did you want to talk about the fee and the payment plans, please, if you could?
Yeah, definitely. Each course we have payment plans. Payment plans, you get invoiced per semester and you can pay that off monthly or fortnightly via credit card or bank transfer. We do have a lot of students that move to part-time to help spread the cost of the course as well. And you can move between full-time and part-time when things, change in your life. We also have quite a few students that would come and do the graduate diploma, and then they might finish with the graduate diploma, take a few years to go and work, and then come back and pick up where they left off and do their second year of the masters. So that's a way to break down the costs a little bit more as well. So there's a few options there. So if you do have any questions about that or want to talk it over, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can have a chat and see what we can do. Okay. Thanks, Dee.
Thanks, Kate. So our next intake. So we're doing a mid-year intake, which is currently open, and also closes on the 13th of July. So the start date is the 21st of July. That's when the intensive starts in Brisbane. So we've currently got about quite a few. We've got about 5 people already. We're looking to get more. So next year as well, in March. So that's also open. And we start on the 9th of March. I just noticed the spelling. So now I'm wondering if we won't do this now, but wondering if there are any questions that we can have a discussion about. Otherwise, we're going to give you some sort of maybe a bit of inner work or something.
Yeah, do you mind if I ask a couple of questions? Thank you for presenting, by the way.
I would love that, Matt.
No worries. Sorry again that I was late. I am currently working full time. Just curious about what days and times the lecturers tend to happen and the tutes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's a great question. Rose, over to you.
So each unit has a fortnightly 2-hour tutorial. So if you're full-time, you have 2 2-hour tutorials a week. And if you're part-time, you have 1 2-hour tutorial a week. And they're usually 6 to 8 p.m. in the evening. That's New South Wales time. So we'll adjust for daylight savings.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
And we do record them. There is an attendance requirement, but they're also recorded. And again, we always encourage people to reach out to us. So if it's really impossible to attend the classes, it's still worth having a conversation with us to see what we can do.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Do you know roughly what the time commitment would be outside of the scheduled classes, like the additional study load that someone could expect to need to do each week?
Yeah. So in the graduate diploma, there's 2 assessments per unit plus a hurdle assessment, which is based on participation and attendance. So if you're full-time, that means you would have roughly 8 assessments due across 16 weeks. And then in the masters, it goes up to about 12. So it is quite a high workload. But the assessment types are different. So sometimes it's a reflective journal. There are some essays, but there's also videos, presentations. So it's not all essay writing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there can be, there is, I think it's 12 across 16 weeks in the masters and 8 assessments per semester across 16 weeks in the graduate diploma.
Thanks, Rose. Did you want to say what the attendance requirements are for the tutorials, Rose?
About 80%.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any more questions? Anything?
Do you mind if I ask another one?
No, we'd
Go
love
for it.
that.
Sorry, thank you. I've never done the process oriented um, approach before. I've done plenty of holistic um, healing myself and approaches to therapy, and do a um, like a somatic form of energy work with people as well. But I've never come across the process stuff. Are you able to give a bit of a brief? And I'm sure it's really detailed, and you wouldn't be able to do it justice in a brief response. But yeah, give a brief overview of what that is about, because I take that the course is largely structured around that, if I'm not wrong.
That's a core part of the approach,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't say the course is structured around that either, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
also bring in the anthroposophy and other things.
Yeah.
But within the process, so process work, I'm not sure how much background you have, but I'll just try and give a brief introduction. Was developed by Arnold Mindell,
Yeah.
who was actually a physicist and then became interested in Jungian psychology.
Yeah.
And he was doing Jungian dream work and started to notice that there seemed to be a mirroring between his nighttime dreams and some body symptoms that he was
Yeah.
experiencing. So that led him to develop this idea of the dreaming body, that dreaming is happening all the time, even outside of our nighttime dreams, and that our body symptoms, our conflicts, our addictive tendencies are all aspects of our dreaming process that are less conscious or less known. So in process work, we talk about our primary process, which is the things that we're aware of, we're conscious of, they're usually intentional. So a client might come and say, I'm a very organized person, I'm very kind. That's their primary process. That's how they see themselves.
Yeah.
And then they might have a conflict with a partner who's really messy and disorganized. Um, and so we can say that there's something around messiness and disorganization. There's less in their awareness or consciousness. That's more secondary for them, is what we say.
Yeah.
And so we don't make assumptions or pathologize. We're simply helping to unfold what is the meaning of that experience for them. And it's often aspects of ourselves that are asking to be known or integrated in some way. But again, we can't assume what that, in that example, how that's asking to be integrated or worked with. We don't say, "Oh, I know." It's really following the person's process. Arnie really felt that each person's process contains its own wisdom and own answer. So if we can learn to follow that rather than interpreting or analyzing or assuming that we're the expert, the idea is that the process will show the way and how it wants to be worked with for that client.
Yeah. Cool.
And it also works across different levels of awareness, is probably important to say. So we have Arnie Mindell talks about consensus reality. So that's the sort of stuff, we can say today's Tuesday, it's the 24th of June, things that we kind of tend to agree on. And then there's the dreaming level. So these are things that are sort of, not just our nighttime dreams, but again, our body symptoms, our subjective emotional experience of things. And then there's the essence level, which Arnie likened to the Tao. It's sort of hard to name and where there's less polarity,
Yeah.
and things have a more, there's more a oneness at that
Yeah.
level.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Rose. Appreciate it.
And Rose, I'm just wondering, because you're a graduate, I'm a graduate, but what would you say studying at Metavision was like?
Well, I think I came in thinking, oh, I'm going to do a career change and learn how to be a counselor, and wasn't quite prepared for the deep personal transformation that happened. Um, but I think that's ultimately what I was actually really longing for was, I guess, a more spiritual and deeper way of meeting life's experiences that was not dogmatic either. So I think that's important to say. There's a lot of things are offered around what is soul, what is spirit, what is holistic, but it's always there to be sort of grappled with and questioned. It's not us telling you this is how it is. And so I think it kind of opened things up. And it was, you know, when you do this kind of work, you meet a lot of your own edges where we ask our students to reflect on their own process, because process work is an awareness method. And so we need to be aware of our own process and our own way of being, in order to be there for our clients. And so I think it's pretty safe to say I don't think you'd come through this course and not change in some way, in quite a deep way, actually. And that's one of the things I love about working here. I think you're the same, Dee, is seeing how the students transform across the 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for myself, I really learnt who I was. There was a real discernment about, well, who am I? And I felt okay with being in the world, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so it was a while ago that I studied, but I still think that is still a process that we go through. So we still have our edges. Like if you want to speak process work, speak. There's still things that we can't see. We've still got stuff happening in our lives, you know, but we work with it and we're able to sit with another. And I think that's the thing, being able to understand where I end and the other person begins is important as well. Or just having that deep respect for, the person's process and following feedback, which can work in every part of your life, actually. So whatever you're learning, it's communication as well. So you're able to communicate with people and get a deeper sense, but also work on your own relationships. Yeah, interestingly enough. But yeah, I'm wondering if there are any other questions or anything before we do. And I was thinking, Rose, maybe you could do that inner work again and we could just sort of go in and then do a bit of the rapid writing or something. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we can offer the rapid writing as something to do like outside of this session if you'd like to get a little taste of the way we work. We have an exercise for you to try that we use in our inner work, our first inner work unit in the graduate diploma.
Great.
So we'll explain what it is, but it's nice to do it when you've got time and space, so we don't want to rush you.
Did you want me to just share the screen again or?
Sure.
So this is the inner work rapid writing exercise that Rose is you were going to speak through this, were you, Rose? Yeah, great. I'll hand it
Yeah,
to
so
you.
this is one of the exercises that we do in first year in Unit 102, which is inner work. And it's adapted from Natalie Goldberg's book, Writing Down the Bones. And this is a really great one if you're stuck or uncertain about something. It's really helpful to set an intention or a question. And then it's pretty simple. You just commit to at least 15 minutes of what we call rapid writing, ideally over 3 days and ideally at the same time. And I like to make it a bit of a ritual. So you might like to light a candle or something as well when you do it. The idea is you just keep your hand moving and don't censor yourself. So we don't worry about spelling and grammar. Don't worry if you're making sense. Don't worry if what you're saying is horrible or messy. We spend a lot of time censoring ourselves when we're in communication with others. So the idea is to be able to move past that and really get to the heart of what it is that you're feeling and experiencing. And what you'll find is by the third day, there's usually some kind of clarity or shift that happens. Students then write us a reflection on the process, and they almost always say that something major shifted for them, whether it was their understanding or a new insight or a new way of seeing the problem or clarity about what they needed to do next. So if you like to give this a go in your own time and get a little bit of a taste for the way that we work and some of the exercises we do, this is a really lovely practice to try.
Yeah, I think if you're thinking about studying with Metavision, it's a very good idea to use what we work with, the Metavision model, so to speak, to be able to find if that's right for you. if that's something that you feel called to do, because it's really important that you do, because it is sort of like a soul calling, so to speak, if I'm allowed to say that. But I'm going to anyway. And really would recommend that if you did want to discuss your path, if you did this exercise and maybe want to come back and have a discussion with myself, with Kate, with Rose, we're happy to make that time as well, because everybody's different and you all have a different path, and we'd like to just be able to help if needed.
The other thing that can be really interesting if you're sort of on the fence or just considering which direction to take, and not just with this course, but anytime, is to pay attention to your dreams. So we do dream work as part of the course. And there's this idea that, when a client's entering into therapy, sometimes the first big dream that they have reflects or shows the patterns that you're going to be working with in therapy. And I found that's the same if I'm facing a decision, I have a dream. It often gives me information about my path or the way forward. Um, so even just to start the practice of writing down your dreams and seeing what that's like, if you don't already do that, because that can be a really big part of the course too, to support your inner work and development.
Excellent. Well, if there's nothing else, unless you can think of something, Kate or Rose, or if there's any more questions.
Yeah, so can you maybe talk into placement? Because I know that's a question that a lot of people have in the back of their minds.
So, did you want to take this, Rose, or?
So in second semester of the graduate diploma and then second semester of the master's, there's a placement unit. Um, so students complete, I think it's 100 hours in the first year as a D.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and we provide supervision as part of that as well. So you'll have both group supervision and one-to-one supervision with one of our supervisors. And so that's a really great way to start building client experience and your client hours. And I don't know if there's any questions around that or if there's anything else you want me to cover, Kate.
Yeah,
But I think,
maybe, sorry. Yeah, maybe just explain how we don't find the placement centers for you. It's something that it's a personal journey of your own that you need to do. Do you want to go into that, Rose?
yeah, so students do find their own placement, but our placement officer is there to support you. So even though you don't do placement till second semester, Anne, who's our placement officer, is in touch with you very early on to let you know what you need to do to start preparing and getting organized for placement, so that by the time you come to semester two, you should be pretty much set up and ready to go. So we can provide ideas and sort of support with making contact with host organizations. And there's quite a wide variety of placements that people do. But if there's concerns about that, then Anne's always there to support you from day one. So we don't wait till you get to that unit to figure it out. We're sort of working with you from the beginning to start setting that up so that when it comes time to enroll in that unit in semester two, you're ready to go.
And we do have some contacts, like we do have some organizational contacts that we can put you in contact with as well. Anything else you think of, Kate? I can see your mind ticking.
I answer the phone calls every day, so I get all the questions that people have. No, I think you've covered everything, unless someone has a question about something that we might have missed or they want to go a bit deeper into something.
No more questions? Okay, well, thank you for coming, and we hope that you reach out and have conversation. And I think Kate will be sending the recording, but also the slides. The slides will be a separate PDF, so you can have that rapid writing exercise with you. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Okay, but thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thanks very much.
you stopped record?